Welcome to Barbecue Catering Smarts, the go-to podcast for barbecue operators looking to grow and streamline their catering operations. Every episode, we're serving up expert advice, proven systems, and flavorful strategies straight from top leaders in the barbecue and catering world. So fire up the pit. It's time for another sizzling episode.
Hello again. I'm Michael Attias, your host of Barbecue Catering Smarts, and today's guest is Bridget Ryan, Director of Sales and Marketing at Fat Bob's Smokehouse. With deep experience in driving restaurant growth through smart sales strategy, brand building, and community connection, Bridget helped shape how Fat Bob shows up for guests, both in-house and off-premise. From strengthening catering programs to developing marketing efforts that turns first-time customers into regulars, she brings a practical, results-focused perspective on what really moves the needle for barbecue catering, and we're excited to have her on the show today. But before we get started, let's take a minute to recognize our sponsor, CaterZen Catering Software. They help restaurants turn their catering chaos into calm. Discover why restaurants trust CaterZen to save them time and increase sales. Go to caterzen.com and sign up for a walkthrough of the software. Now let's dive into this episode of Barbecue Catering Smarts. Welcome, Bridget. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thank you.
Great. I hope you had a good weekend.
Yes, it was a relaxing, sunshine-filled Buffalo, New York, so that was good.
Sunshine's good. I'm sure it's tough getting to. My fiance's from Michigan, and I barely made it to the end of December.
Yeah, it's not fun up here, so less snow and sun makes the 16 degrees this morning bearable.
Well, they do have exit signs if you ever decide to leave.
That is true. Yes.
Okay. I like to always start off with an icebreaker question. Give me a number between 1 and 300.
264.
What's your favorite way to spend a fall afternoon?
Well, one of the good seasons in Buffalo is actually fall, so I would say um, just being with our family and enjoying all of the leaves that change color locally is usually one of the best, taking a walk, not necessarily a hike, but enjoying the colors, and 65 degrees is always a win.
Oh, for sure. We've got a place here called Radnor Lake, and it's in the city, and it's a state park, and there's no elevation really to it. And you just walk around the lake, and it's beautiful, and you can see turtles and bald eagles, and it's just a nice way to just chillax on a Sunday afternoon. So I definitely can relate to what you're saying. Okay, let's jump in here. Why don't you give us sort of the origin of Fat Bob's Smokehouse, where it all started, how long you've been around?
Yeah. So a chef from Buffalo named Bob Malott, he opened Fat Bob's in 1998. Buffalo was just getting barbecue, if that made sense. There weren't many of those, focused restaurants. So he opened that restaurant in 1998, and then it was purchased by my husband's uncle and partner in 2003. There were transitions of ownership in 2007 that wound up with Patrick. My husband has sole ownership of the company shortly after those transitions in 2010. Myself getting involved became a change of career in 2015, 16, 17. I left teaching because there was opportunity to grow the business. So what started as let's buy a bar because that would be a fun investment turned
Yeah.
into this is a restaurant that really has potential for growth. And I think Patrick's vision took it beyond just a bar that had food to a destination for food that now has a bar.
That's cool. So, Michaela, who produces the podcast and does all these questions, I rarely, you had said, oh, it was good you gave us questions. My brain goes in a million directions.
Yeah.
I have a theory about this, but you were a school teacher. What did you teach?
I actually taught Spanish.
Oh,
Yeah.
I needed you. I got a place in Costa Rica, and I speak Spanglish. My French helps with my Spanish.
Oh, that's funny.
How do you feel being a teacher has helped you in the business world and selling catering?
It's one of the reasons I got into this job. I've never served or bartended. I'm you know, helpful, but only to a point. In teaching, I was at the point of wanting to become an administrator that taught teachers about technology. And Patrick owning a business 60 hours a week, and we had little kids at the time, I saw an opportunity to take my tech skills and push them into the operations side of catering. So that's where I started. So I really took every ounce, and I use Spanish every day with a lot of employees. So
I
I really
bet.
all
Más
of my
costillas,
skills.
por favor.
Yeah, yep. I took lots of teaching skills, team building and herding children is very similar to our team of 50 employees, but most importantly, putting all of our systems into the cloud when I started 10 years ago almost, was the number one opportunity I saw. I just kept saying, "Can I please take over the catering department? Can I please take over catering?"
And what's interesting, I always feel restaurant owners are way behind the curve on tech. So
Mhm.
that far back to do that, like I've always embraced anything that's going to make things systematized, easier.
Yeah.
And you sell catering as well, right?
Yes.
So this is something I believe teachers make the best salespeople
Yeah.
because the old stereotypical, used car salesman or salesman is like they're trying to sell you something that you don't want. They're not listening to what you say and they're shoving something down your throat. Where teachers are great educators. And really, I believe the essence of selling is really listening to your prospect and
Mhm.
educating them of what you have and why it may be the best choice or why it might not be the best choice. And I think there's been a lot of people who, through my business life, I've seen have transitioned from teaching to sales and have done very well with it for that reason.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to just I want people to have a great experience. And if your great experience is going to include barbecue, I can definitely help you figure that out. But if it's not going to include barbecue, I'm happy to share what a good party should look like. And I think a lot of teaching comes out of that. Like you don't need to have pulled pork, but you should offer two meats, like
Yeah,
that.
for sure. For sure. And then people appreciate when you help them because even if you're not the right fit for them today, they'll
Mhm.
remember you down the road, whether it's for their event or they recommend you to someone else.
Yeah.
So definitely authenticity and, that heart of wanting to help people goes a long way. When you look at catering as a profit center in your business, what are the 2 to 3 biggest levers that actually move revenue and margin for your operation?
I think what's helped us grow over the last 5 to 10 years is just being able to sell the quantity of food, um, and streamline it. It's, you know
Explain that.
yeah, having pulled pork, for example, being able to sell 200 pounds of that is so much more efficient than saying, "Let's do 20 pieces of smoked salmon today, and then 20 pounds of pulled pork for this order." So really being able to kind of streamline the quantity of what we're selling is probably one of the biggest benefits of what we do, and then also streamlining our service. So just having a delivery driver that every time they arrive, they set it up, the buffet goes in the same order, a wedding setup is exactly the same, really has helped us shave labor hours, not because the labor isn't still there, but it's not as tedious. You're not showing up and having to ask, "Where do I put the cornbread again?" No, every single time, and it's fun to watch that growth. There's been times that I've subbed in for our wedding leads and turned around and said, "Oh, shoot, we forgot to put the cornbread in the baskets," and the baskets are already going because it's such an automated process, and that's probably one of the biggest things that we've found success with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think, you can't, I've always said when you run a business off personalities,
Mhm.
you have more problems. And when you have processes, you have profits.
Yes.
You need great people, but you want them to follow the same system because, Susie goes out there and does it one way. And it's like, oh, well, how come it isn't like Susie did it? I like the way she decorated the table. And then Michael goes out there and it's just vanilla. Same way, same time. What's your catering mix look like? Drop off, full service, weddings. I don't know if you have a private party room. I have to sort of
Yeah,
throw that in the mix of catering.
it is. Yeah, we do not. So we have one flagship location in downtown Buffalo, and then we have partnered with a brewery to have two additional offsite locations where we just provide the food. So they have private event space at one of the, well, at both of those, but they're not in our direct catering. I don't count it in our direct mix. It's more of that location. But I would say drop off and pick up on the personal side and the corporate side make up about 70% of our business. And then weddings and full service events, whether corporate or personal, makes up the other 30. So we really find value in that. Literally give you a $2,000 graduation party, set it up in your garage and depart business.
Do you have a favorite, the full service versus the drop off?
I think from a business standpoint, the delivery drop off is definitely by far my favorite because of the profitability of it. But I think being able to service people's weddings, that big important day of their life, they're not always their profit driver, but the labor, always offsets and your pressure of doing it right. But being able to build that relationship and have those touch points to 100 to 200 people and make a good experience for everyone has definitely helped our reputation. So they are, I like the deliveries better because they're less labor, but the
Right.
benefit of those full service events done well is really gold.
I think my favorite, I just love catering more than the restaurant business in general.
Yeah, me too.
But my favorite was always when we had big events and whether it was a company picnic for 500 or we did 3 shifts at a factory for 1,000,
Mhm.
because we would go out, I'd be with the crew and there's a lot of camaraderie and it's like a field. I call it a field trip, right? In
Yes.
school, you look forward to getting on the bus and leaving the campus and going someplace. So it's a field trip. And if it was a really big event, I would take everybody out to lunch afterwards. We'd go have a nice lunch, or if we're out of town, sometimes there'd be a third shift. And, I'd spend the night in a hotel with the guys because we had to serve at 2 a.m. and we get up and go grab a breakfast and then come back for the lunch. So I always enjoyed that. It was a field trip for me as well. So it was a lot of fun. If you had to grow, if someone was listening and they had to grow their catering business by 20-30%, what would you advise somebody?
So this is a question that I think I had an answer really quick in my head just now of I would streamline sales, corporate, follow that corporate outreach. If it's, right now we're in accounting season. So if I truly was starting kind of ground up, looking and saying, what trend that people need to eat. They always need to eat. So what added benefit could my company provide? And right now in tax season, a lot of companies can, order the pizza or get the subs. They could really enhance their offering by having a full meal for those
Right.
long night type things. Um, One thing though that our company has found extreme value in is just saying yes. And I think that gets lost in the shuffle. When we started, the answer was just, we'll figure it out. Yes, and we'll figure it out. And I think that helped us build a reputation that our customers know we're going to do our darndest to try and solve your problem of needing food. And I think that is easily the way that our catering has grown by just figuring it out and
So can
saying,
you give me some examples of just say yes?
yeah, one of the big ones most recently post, crazy shutdowns and things is, well, actually I could talk about the COVID shutdown. There were a lot of times that emergency response workers needed food and we laid off most of our staff, but we still just said yes. So, not serving in the restaurant, we put all the tables together and opened boxes, and it was roll, 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 and hundreds of meals out the door. A lot of companies could have just said, nope, we're not open. We only have 2 people here. We can't serve
Right.
100. And, our catering team at that time and our owner just made it happen. And with those streamlined, pulled pork, you can smoke hundreds of pounds at a time, or brisket, baking off chicken. We were able to just say yes. So I think, and on the small side, we used to have a hard, need 72 hours notice, and we've just continued to soften that because we've increased our PARs to say, I understand that you forgot to order lunch, but we're not going to penalize you for that. We'll do our best. And if we can't, we're just truthful in saying, normally we can do our best, but we're already serving 500 people in the lunch hour today. So call us tomorrow.
Do you have a hard cutoff? Like, what do you shoot for?
Always saying yes.
Yeah,
So
but like, I mean, do you have a standard we need day before notice, or you take morning of orders?
we try our best to give our catering team that 24-hour lead time. So as long as, by 3 o'clock, if they know what they're doing for lunch the next day, that's ideal. Our website, the actual restaurant component, does offer our most popular barbecue packages, office lunches up to 10. So
Yeah.
that was definitely, we pretty much can get it out the door on the same day, especially if it's 10 people and under. On the off chance, we always just check the calendar first. If we really have nothing going on and a sales rep friend texts us at 8:30 in the morning, we just go to the team and say, hey, I looked at the calendar. We don't really see anything. Do we have enough on hand to get this lunch? It just happened last week. Get this 50-person lunch out the door, because that $500, if somebody's giving it to you, you get. Our motto is just say yes. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
We definitely, I think because we did a high volume in the restaurant, we could say yes to a lot of stuff, but we embrace last minute orders because we knew there's people, the boss calls up and says, hey, I want to feed everybody. I've got a meeting, or somebody forgot something. We can't always promise them what they want. We might have to say, hey, we can't do ribs, but we can do chicken and pork, because you can throw chicken on the smoker and you can get that done pretty quickly, relatively speaking. And, we had some other tricks up our sleeves, but I think that's the reason we built a good following is the same thing. Just say yes, because otherwise they go someplace else and then somebody else has a chance to get your customer.
Yeah. And
And
that's
it's,
exactly that. You don't want to lose them, even though, and then teaching your team that, even to embrace the inconvenience, because a lot of times, and that's kind of we're in a growth mode now, trying to push some boundaries. And that's kind of remembering that importance was an aha moment recently of, oh, this is definitely something that has helped us grow, is saying yes. So
right.
even though we might have 3 lunch orders, if we can do 5, how do we train the team to accept and embrace 5 instead of be, the ongoing saga and size of.
And that always comes from the top down. That comes from the top down, right? If they understand why it's important, um and it sounds like you and your husband have that, let's take care of the customer, let's make it happen. And
Mhm.
that filters to everybody. Whereas if you were like, oh shit, what the hell are they calling me at the last minute? They don't know what they want, and you're complaining about it, then they're going to take that on, right? It's the
Mhm.
same reason you go in to a Chick-fil-A and every single time they have great service, right? It starts from the top down, and that's super important. Um, what would you say your strongest way of generating leads is right now?
Gosh. Um, I would say our lead generation right now is one of the ways. So recently we hit $1 million in catering sales, which
Wow.
annually, which has been a goal for a while. I've always, wanted that. The restaurant exceeds that every year, and it baffles me because I feel like, how they churn out more food is just so impressive. But um, for us now, I joked, and be, the question becomes, what's next? Okay, you did 1 million. Who cares? Now what? You have to maintain it. And what does 1.2 look like? What is,
Right.
what are those next steps? So for us, the brand reputation of Fat Bob's has sold $1 million annually without us having to attack too much in leads. We don't do a lot of outbound sales. So right now it's based on reputation and service, and people are calling, and we're landing those sales. If they call, they're pretty much ready to give their credit card when they're on the
Right.
phone with us. So now we're really looking into how do we generate leads and optimizing our website better. I think, in general, we just need to improve that. I think our partnerships have served us very well with local business and venues for weddings and things like that. I think the social outreach and having lifelong customers are really our best leads right now. A lot of people in their 20s lived in the neighborhood where our bar restaurant is, and then they move out to the suburbs, and we've catered their weddings or their baptism, their family events. So they have become, our customers have become our lead generators at this point.
Oh, that's great. Do you stay in front of your customers on a regular basis? And if so, how?
Yes, we use a CRM system that is on our website, and I send out um, a weekly email. It has like 19,000 people that it hits. We use SMS texting and then social media most directly. So
Yeah.
those, and the message does cross between restaurant, local connections, and then service. So I try and keep those, and then I float the catering piece and our food truck and the restaurant events. I weave it through that story each week.
You can never stop staying in front of your clients.
Hmm.
It's so easy to be forgotten. And
Yes.
then there's a balance, right? If you're in front of them too often, then they get annoyed. Um,
Yes.
I find when I buy something online, especially if it's like a one-shot sale, like my fiance and I have a black lab, year and a half old. Well, we bought a really beautiful crate for the dog. So when we leave the house, if we left the dog would just tear up everything. So it's a very beautiful crate. It's right here over here. Well, why are they sending me 2 emails a week? Like, I'm not buying 1,000 crates, right? They could
Hmm.
once a quarter, they could come and say, "Hey, we've developed this new thing," or "Here's something you could put in the crate that's gonna make your dog happy," or but, how many crates is somebody buying?
Right.
So
And
that
how
drives me crazy.
are you going to, and that's why I like to change up that message too, because, a lot of people are only planning parties for milestone events. The customer that orders bi-weekly is an anomaly, but also one of my favorites, but they're not as easy to come by versus everyone is going to celebrate a birthday, but maybe only once every handful of years or something,
Right,
so staying with a message that might pique their interest to come in for a Friday special and then
right.
remind them we do graduation catering. Yeah, it's a fine balance. You don't want them to hit unsubscribe, which I probably would for your dog crate.
Yeah, I've just been too lazy. I need somebody to just unsubscribe me from all these things that I get on. Every now and then I'll hit unsubscribe. Um, so are y'all in the process of transitioning to more outbound? Um,
Yeah, I think right now it's kind of understanding who isn't seeing us. So getting a little deeper into the SEO optimization and looking at where are we showing up when people need a service and how are people looking? If you put Buffalo Barbecue Catering, we show up. But if you put Buffalo Weddings, we're not listing. So that to me, our wedding sales have been very strong, but they're kind of at a stagnation because of the industry, because of our offerings. Like it just needs a little rebrand. We're still doing fine, but I think there's room in that industry locally. So now we definitely have to look at that more closely.
Do you do bridal shows? When it comes to the corporate business, are you starting to call the person who orders catering and offering a sampling? Are you doing any more, proactive, like feet on the street type of stuff?
Yes, we went back to 2 bridal shows this year. We had taken a pause from them because we weren't seeing the return, so we actually shifted to a different platform locally, but now it's taking those leads and how are you making sure, you're qualifying them, but then also we're landing sales, and those it also takes people. Right now, our catering team only has 2 managers, and that running $1 million, the phone rings 5, 10, or 15
Yeah,
times a day. How much can we push? So we're definitely just in a bit of a shakeup of what do we need to hire if we need more help? And then if we're going to hire, what are our processes to make sure they're working? We're not just talking.
right. So if you go do a bridal show, how are you qualifying those leads and getting those leads?
So they provide a lead list, which is easy. We do have a form on our website it asks questions that are tailored to our ideal customer. So we are looking for someone who isn't a cookie cutter, Pinterest
Right,
perfect, more of a rustic, a mix of indoor and outdoor. Ideal situation is that 120 to 170 guest count is perfect. And then we try and stay within a 30-mile radius of our downtown location. So those are usually the customer points that at least get us, okay, let's take the next step. They're not looking for
right,
a drop off and yeah, we're going to handle 200 people by ourselves. That doesn't serve our brand well.
right,
Um, so knowing they want some sort of service, they have, we have a minimum for a weekend event. They're willing to make that minimum. And then a big thing is a trusted venue as well. We will pretty much cater anywhere. We call ourselves like a kitchenless catering company because
yeah,
barbecue, you're smoking, we can bring it hot. If 30-mile radius, we can bring it hot within 30 minutes.
right.
Traffic in Buffalo is to our favor. Um, so really, those backyard events are perfect. But if I'm pushing into a venue, I also want to make sure they hit our core values because at the end of the day, at a party, no one knows if you work for Fat Bob's or you work for Event Center A. So we have to work together, and those venue partnerships really are important too. So if they're already looking to have an event at that venue, they're already likely hitting who we want as a customer. We've already done
That's
that.
good. And that's probably for people listening, if you're not doing a million a year in business, it's tougher to have those because you're thinking, hey, I'll take any piece of business. And, kudos to you for sort of having these guardrails of like, this really doesn't fit who we are or what we're looking to do because it's not going to represent the brand. That's got to be if you're not doing the sales, that's got to be a tough thing to deal with.
I we did not have as strong of guardrails 10 years ago when we weren't doing $1 million in sales. And I think as the relationships of saying yes evolve, then the importance of those guardrails build with us because we were at venues that, said, I'll provide a hose and you can bring a tent under that tree to rinse plates. We did that for 2, 3 years and then
Right.
decided we don't need to be out in this. If other venues, because a lot of local venues only, barn weddings became a thing like 10 years ago. I don't know why, at least locally. So people converted their barns and over those initial years, yes, we all worked together and said, I don't know where the light switch is, but we'll be happy to figure it out. And the venues that didn't keep up with supporting their caterers, the caterers didn't return. We didn't do that at the beginning, but it became more of a hassle. I couldn't trust the venue at times to say the lights will be turned on correctly, the ice will be provided that we're including. And when you
Right.
can't do that, it risks too much for the aunt or the cousin or the grandma who don't know there's 2 separate companies. They just had Fat Bob's food and assume it was us.
Right.
So
That's a
that
good
was
point.
those were learning, I would say, but now we're at the point of being in looking for new venues. There's a lot of partnerships that have approached us and vice versa that, over time, that confidence has grown. At the beginning, we were in a lot of fields with no amenities saying, sure, we'll do it. And now I ask, do you have water? Do you provide garbage? If
Right.
those are no's, we either push it to the customer because we like the venue or we just don't come back.
Right. Well, that's smart. Very smart. Um, a tip, I think everybody's stretched thin running their business and doing what marketing they can. I remember I used to lick stamps and put peel and stick labels on postcards while watching TV, right? Um, I don't, you know, a big source that helped us when I had my restaurant was college kids, because there's always somebody majoring in marketing that's looking for a job and is willing to make those phone calls and do that stuff you just don't have time to do.
Mhm. Yeah, that is very true. The university at Buffalo actually um, put out a request for projects. And last semester, I submitted our website as a project, and they didn't have time to complete it. But ironically enough, um, they do have time this semester. So I'm meeting a team of students on Friday, and I'm going to have them optimize our website for weddings. So hopefully we show up
Awesome.
in the search bar. Yeah.
Very cool. Now everything's going to AI. Like the stuff we're doing with AI is crazy. We had to do a landing page. I don't know if you know what Lovable is. It's a vibe
Mm-mm.
coding. So you could literally just speak what you want and it will create something for you, like an app or whatever. It's not really, it's more proof of concept at this point, but it did a landing page, like really a whole website page for catering software. And my guy did it using Lovable. He was able to take the code and push it live, and it looks as good as anything that you could get designed. It's crazy where all this is headed.
Yeah, and it's keeping up with that knowledge, right? Like having the connection to say, you said it earlier, it comes down to time and priority. And I think coming into this, recognizing, okay, we hit a goal, what's the next goal? It's now a lot of that, okay, if this is the project, can I outsource it? You don't want to have to say, oh, I have to spend $50,000 for someone to put some keywords in. We don't have that kind of budget.
Right.
So really digging in to learn and optimize what you can is a game changer with a tech that's moving this quickly.
For sure. I mean, my whole social media feed is easily 25% AI. And
Mhm.
every week I'm picking up something like the next new thing, the next new thing. It's absolutely crazy. And then the guy who does our digital marketing, the big thing now is optimizing for AI, because I don't use Google anymore. I use, like, literally this weekend, I mean, 5, 10 times a day, I'm going to ChatGPT and saying, well, if I want to use this pizza dough, but I just bought a pizza oven. And so I, I did enough for 4 pizzas. We only needed two. Can I store the dough an extra couple of days because we're not going to eat it all in one day? And it tells you exactly what to do and how to handle things. And even stupid questions, my fiance and I would be like, "Oh, I wonder about this," and it'll, so it's optimizing. Or, hey, we're getting rid of a hot tub, and we're going to put a hammock in the backyard. Hey, what's the best hammock to get on Amazon? This is what I want. Blah blah blah. Uh, and it's got the link, right? So it's the new. I think ChatGPT is going to start doing paid ads.
Yeah, they're definitely going to sneakily figure out something in that. And I think a seminar I attended earlier this in the fall alluded to that in how much content is going to become king. Like just saying over and over again, Buffalo, Fat Bob's weddings. I could spend 40 minutes and thank you for putting this on YouTube. And this will start to speak the same language to ChatGPT more than Google might matter in the coming time. I don't know if it's completely surpassed it, but we're trying to build that content, and whether it's helpful articles about catering or a landing page that hits every preferred venue. We recently started um, a barbecue blog essentially to try and enhance this. So provide, small business office lunch ideas. And someone told me the other day casually, "Oh, I saw a post in an article about your ideas for lawn games at a corporate party." I was like, "You're right. I did post that." And it's on purpose to try and generate how should I throw a party for work in
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Well, it's really about an incredible amount of resources put into that. And AI allows that. There's a guy in the software space, and he was talking about their SEO and where they were I don't know the exact numbers. Maybe he was posting like one article a week, and now he's doing like 5 a day on these different keywords that are going to drive traffic to them. And his inbound leads has just gone through the roof compared to where they were going. Right. So if you think about catering, there's a million different niches that you can write articles about: graduation parties, picnics, holiday parties, and even niches like CPA luncheons, right? All
Yes.
sorts of things.
Yeah.
So, um, as I said, you probably need to hire a 12-year-old as your answer.
Luckily, I have 12-year-old twins who do a great job at the stickering postcards, and we use shout. This is actually a fun idea I'd be happy to share. When you
Yeah.
said stickering postcards, for wedding shows a couple of years ago, I started handing out individual use shout wipes, and our flag is barbecue is messy, so let us handle the mess. And then it's a handout. I think it's easier to start a conversation with something in my hands. So having those and tipping them off. But this year, because we did the 2 shows, those 12-year-olds were very busy watching TV, stuffing all of my plastic sheets of shout wipes and labeling
Oh,
them.
that's cute. That's good. Teach them work at a young age. Do they
Yes.
ever go out and work events? Do you ever send them out to like do drinks or desserts or anything?
Yeah, we haven't sent them to events. They will moonlight at our actual full service restaurant once in a while, relining our barbecue trays and, helping stuff silverware and those kind of things. But no, not at events. I really am a process streamline person, so they would really cause me a lot of stress. I believe we might be doing a food festival, a long time return to the Taste of Buffalo this year, and I bet you they will be having a part in that, whether they'd like it or not.
Fun. I interviewed, God, the name is, I can't think of the name. I'm terrible at names. He started off working at his dad's barbecue restaurant, and he used to go in there and ask his dad for quarters to play video games. And his dad says, "I'm not giving you any quarters, but I'm going to show you how to earn them." So he would go around and refill people's tea and water at the restaurant, and people would give him $1, tips. And he made a lot of money as like a 10-year-old, as a kid, as opposed to just sitting around playing video games. And then, he ended up working in the restaurant, and now he owns it. But you can never start work too early. My dad had a factory manufacturing commercial twine
Oh,
manufacturing. And I remember it's probably 10, 11 years old. I'd go to the factory and I would wind twine on a bobbin. I'm sure if the OSHA people knew, he probably would have gotten in trouble. But I learned a lot about that whole manufacturing process. It was pretty cool. Not that I want to be in it, but as a kid, you learn those habits.
yeah.
Okay, we're sort of getting towards the end of time. Do you have any tips for anybody like growing their catering sales or anything you want to share before we sort of sign out?
Yeah. I guess for us in growing catering sales, that say yes is probably a big aha moment and one that I'm excited to revisit with our team. But I also think knowing your customer and finding who you guys, well, not you guys, but whoever your company customer, whoever you want that to be, they're out there. And you don't have to appeal every person and appease everything, but we really are vested in the community that we live in. And I think because we care and we tell people we care, it has resoundingly helped us. Like showing up to yes, it's a donation, but those find whatever you feel passionate about, being able to give that back to the community will pay dividends to. And I didn't understand that right away. I didn't understand having the owner show up to the fundraiser handing out barbecue samples as such a strong networking feature. Now
Oh,
it's
it's
there,
huge,
but
and then people
so big.
probably recognize you all over town and thank you.
Yeah.
There's a woman that I'm Facebook friends. I don't know how old she is. I mean, she's probably in her 80s or 90s. I think she's a Holocaust survivor. Was a flight attendant for, I don't know, TWA, and she's in the community. And she sent me. I posted something this weekend, and she said, "Congratulations to your fiance and you." And she goes, "And I still remember the time you donated food for the homeless to my cause," or whatever it is. I mean, you can't put a price tag on that, because at the end of the day, we do business with people. It's not Fat Bob's, it's Bridget, right? That's who you're doing business with. And that goes a long way. You can't out advertise that, right?
No. And it doesn't need to be millions of dollars donation.
No.
It can be a 30-person or a 15-person or 2 hours. And, I wouldn't say sample coleslaw, but, we bring cornbread sometimes to wedding shows, and that's not expensive. And it still is making people say, oh, I got some food and it was freshly baked and delicious.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
trying to just be out there for people when you're looking for people to buy from you has really worked wonders in our business.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing today.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay. Have a great day.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Barbecue Catering Smarts, where we bring you the best ideas, stories, and strategies from across the barbecue catering industry. We hope today's episode sparked new insights to help you refine your systems, elevate your customer experience, and grow your catering profits. For more episodes and insights, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us next time.